With that, I'll call the meeting to order. Just starting down through the agenda, interim chair update. I'm now the interim chair until a permanent chair is found to serve the role. With that, it doesn't have to be for every meeting, but is there anybody who's willing to take minutes for this meeting? Because I'm usually
Good if I have preference.
You can take, okay, thanks, Stephen, yeah. Okay, so originally on the agenda, we had the sheriff scheduled to speak. He emailed us early this morning that he was feeling unwell and unable to attend in person or virtually. In lieu of that, though, we still have the request from the NAACP about joining on the letter. If we want to open that up for discussion, we may look, to still get the sheriff here for the February meeting. I know Wanda and Stefan put together a list of questions that they were prepared to ask the sheriff. So with that, I'll leave the floor for what people's feelings are about that request. In lieu of the absence of the sheriff here to answer some of those questions. Any opinions?
Just be invited in for next month.
No, about the NAACP's request to join.
Oh, sorry.
Letter. Yeah. Is there a preference on whether anyone prefers discussing it today and taking a vote, or waiting again for the sheriff to appear for questions before we take action on that?
Well, I think we should have all the commissioners and the sheriff here. That's my thought. Anybody else thinks otherwise, go ahead and say it.
Wanda, do you know when they're planning on sending that letter?
Well, the NAACP sent it last year,
right,
in 2020, and the NAACP National General Counsel submitted their letter December last year, 2023. So we're just looking, again, renewing the request for Human Rights Commission to sign on. I don't see a reason why we have to wait for the sheriff since NAACP requested it in 2022 of June. There have been 2 additional deaths. There has been the National General Counsel who has signed on, and the Virginia local regional board had also found that the sheriff's office violated state standards. So I really don't see the need to wait another month to have the Human Rights Commission sign on to the letter. And
to clarify, the Arlington NAACP sent a follow-up letter, right? You included that. There's the initial letter, and then there was a follow-up.
The follow-up letter came from National.
Oh, the follow-up came from National.
Yeah, it came from the National General Counsel and support. So again, I really don't see the need to wait another month. Like I said, it's been 2 additional deaths. The state found that the sheriff's office was in violation of standards. There has been a $1.3 million lawsuit at the time was pending when NAACP requested HRC to sign on. Since then, that lawsuit has been settled in favor of the estate of the decedent.
HRC sent a letter back.
Yeah.
2022.
No, we've never sent it.
Oh,
yeah, and the Arlington NAACP sent it. There was a request in 2022 for the HRC to join on to the letter, but we did not.
Or to write a letter.
Or to write a letter, yeah, right. Or to write a separate letter. We didn't. We waited. So just some background, we invited then Sheriff Arthur here, and in lieu of the fact that she had said that there was a National Institute of Corrections audit or review that was occurring, we were waiting for the results of that to come back, because it was our understanding that would be made public or at least shared with the commission. It's my understanding, and Wanda, if you know more, please feel free to add. It's my understanding that that was conducted like in November 2022. I saw that in some of the county board minutes that that report is referenced, but I cannot find like that report publicly anywhere. So that review was conducted. The only thing I saw of it from the county board minutes was identifying like information sharing issues between DHS, the county, the state county health departments, medical data software and the detention facilities software on the medical records of those who were brought in. But other than that, I don't see that report is public anywhere. But that was the main reason why we held off on signing on or issuing our own letter, was waiting for the results of that, waiting for that review report to come out.
So I think I'm inclined to sign on to the letter or to draft our own, but I think that politically it would be helpful for us to wait until after we have the conversation with the sheriff. Like, if the sheriff sees that, we may have a less fruitful discussion with him. And I think it's been a year and a half. I think it probably would behoove us to wait another month. I'm not like firmly fixed in that belief, but I think that's where I would suggest.
So we're going to wait for the report, and we still don't have the report.
No, we're not waiting for the report. We're waiting for trying to figure out why the report wasn't, the report exists.
Right,
Why wasn't it made public when Sheriff Arthur said that it would be is a question that we have.
okay.
What is the letter exactly that we would be signing off on?
Well, to write an independent letter, but the NAACP at the time in 2022 had asked for the Human Rights Commission to write a letter supporting NAACP efforts to have the Department of Justice do an independent investigation. And I sent information pertaining exactly what the Department of Justice independent investigation would entail. It was completely different from what at the time Sheriff Arthur had alluded. She basically, I think, gave the Human Rights Commission team the impression that her audit was the same thing as what the NAACP was asking, and it was not. We were asking for an independent investigation, which lists the role of the Department of Justice, how they would conduct an oversight for a period of time if they found that there was some wrongdoing, and if not, then they would take it to court. So it was completely different, and that's why I'm asking for the letter. There's no reason, in my opinion, to wait another month or possibly another month after that to hear what Sheriff Quiros has to say in regards to this renewal of the letter, because not only are we requesting a renewal, but there have been 2 additional deaths. The state have found that the Sheriff's Department was in violation of standards, and there has been a $1.3 million lawsuit that was settled in regards to one of the deaths. So I don't understand why we can't move forward with supporting this letter.
And the DOJ investigation would be a patterns and practice investigation. Like Wanda mentioned, she sent out kind of like a screenshot from the DOJ website about what that entails. And it would just look again, like as it says, the patterns and practices of the detention facilities, sheriff's offices, to see if there was anything there that was resulting, either unconstitutional violations, unlawful practices that would have contributed to the deaths in the jails over the past 9 or 8 years.
Jails, okay, gotcha.
So I know that it's, so for like the actual appeal process, when we're looking at cases, it's possible to schedule like a non-regular meeting. Is it possible to do that in between now and the February meeting to discuss this and take a vote on this?
You could, as long as it's a public meeting, you can do that. We have to give a certain amount of notice and things like that, and it has to be public, but yes, you can have a meeting.
Okay, so.
I'm sorry to settle this report issue. So there's a report out there that no one has.
As far as I understand, the county board has it, and
But the NAACP doesn't have it.
right,
We don't have it.
right,
The county board has it.
right.
DOJ might have it.
It's well, NIC is a part of DOJ, right?
Right, but
Yeah.
it's a different.
It's a different type of entity. From
But if the
yeah.
county board has it, why has the NAACP asked for it?
Why hasn't the sheriff supplied it like they said they would? That's the question.
But my question is, if the county board knows something, why aren't we being informed?
They're all separate questions, right? But like,
Yeah.
if the original hangup back in 2022 was the report, and we still don't have a copy of the report, we need to get a copy of the report.
Right, yeah.
So can we just do a FOIA request? Or can we talk to our county board liaison, who that is for 2024?
Multiple things we could, yeah, talk to. So an update on that, which I probably should have mentioned in the beginning, I was saving for a little bit later, but an update on who the liaison is for the county board. It's now Matt DeFerrante is the new, it was Christian Dorsey, but now it's Matt DeFerrante. So yeah, options are just in regards to getting the report, not in regards to discussing the letter, but in regards to getting the report, we can reach out to the county board to see if they can supply us with the report. Reach out to the sheriff's office and see if they can supply us the report, or what harder would be like the FOIA with the DOJ. But
It's gonna take a long time.
right, exactly. I think the more practical ones are talking to the county board or talking to the sheriff's office and provide it publicly, not just to us. Yeah.
But the report and the request for an investigation are two different things and two
Right.
different arms of DOJ.
Right. Right.
Can I just add, from my understanding from the last meeting in December and looking at the meeting for, I think it was July 2022 when Sheriff Arthur was there, my understanding, the reason of not writing a letter in support is because there was an understanding that HRC thought that the sheriff's office audit was the same thing that NAACP was requesting. That was my understanding for not moving forward with the letter, and it's not the same thing. So that's why I'm renewing the request. It didn't have anything to do with waiting for this additional report because they were two separate things.
Could you explain that a little further? I think you did last meeting, but just now explaining the difference between the NIC's review and the DOJ pattern of practice.
Yeah, well, the NIC, there was a letter that the sheriff sent that detailed what NIC was going to accomplish, and I can give you a copy of that. But basically, under that umbrella, it was a technical, it was going to provide technical advice in terms of policies. What we're looking for is accountability in terms of patterns and practices, not just technical advice and audit and sharing some information. We're looking for accountability where there's going to be an oversight with the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division that will monitor the Sheriff's Department for a number of years, like they did in the previous lawsuit, which the Department of Justice have found that the Sheriff's Office violated a former inmate's rights in terms of Americans with Disabilities Act, and the Department of Justice oversaw the functions of implementing whatever they agreed to for a period of 3 years, I believe. So we're looking for the same type of accountability, and that's not what the National Institute of Corrections was doing that we're presenting, that we're proposing.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I saw on the county board minutes that it was referred to as like a technical. Hi, Roland.
Hello, Rose.
Just to give a background of what's being discussed. So as you know, the sheriff was scheduled to be here tonight, but he is going unwell, so he can't appear here virtually or in person or virtually.
Okay.
So we're just again discussing the renewed request by the NAACP for us to send a letter requesting that DOJ patterns and practices. So some more information since the last time we met. That National Institute of Corrections audit that was mentioned in that July 2022 meeting, it seems that was conducted, although that report does not seem to have been available or issued anywhere publicly. It does appear that it was shared with the county board, because I saw from the March 2023 minutes that the county board had discussed it and mentioned some things from that report, but it was very limited. It was like a paragraph mentioning issues with sharing of information between the DHS Department of Health and the Sheriff's Office Detention Center software communicating on those systems communicating, sharing information about health data on the inmates. But otherwise, that report was conducted and completed. It just doesn't seem to be public anywhere. It seems that it's been shared with the county board and that the sheriff's office has it. And now we're discussing people's opinions on whether this meeting we should vote to issue that letter to the GOJ for a request for patterns and practices, or wait until we meet with the sheriff either in February or in an earlier meeting, like a special meeting we could call in between now and February.
So what would be your purpose? I don't understand the purpose of a interim meeting to discuss the letter.
What would be to have the sheriff come in before February.
Oh.
So, yeah.
So the rationale for not disclosing the report is what?
We don't know.
We don't know, because, yeah.
Because if we go back and we actually review what we were told by the sheriff,
Great.
the sheriff said, I will make that report public. So his predecessor said that she would make it public. And so we took our actions based on her word. So now, I mean, I don't see why we can't request a report. Isn't it a public document?
Oh, yeah, I think we can request the report. Yeah. We can request it from, like I was saying, the county. It seems like the county board has it. It also seems like the sheriff's office has it, so we can request it from either.
Yeah, I just think it's just strange that the sheriff would not disclose the report.
Right, yeah.
I mean, that causes more questions than anything. That is what's in the report that you don't want to disclose.
Right.
Roland, can I add, before you came in, I was explaining that the report that the sheriff stated that she was going to make public and provide to the Human Rights Commission, it's not the same type of investigation that we're asking for. So it's something different. So we would like to see the report. We would like to see what's in it, but it's not going to change NAACP's request to have a pattern or practice investigation conducted by Department of Justice. And that's why I was explaining I don't see a reason to have to wait another month or a special meeting when the NAACP, what we're asking is something different than what the sheriff at the time requested from the National Institute of Corrections. It's not going to change our position. It would help give more information and insight, but it's not going to change our position wanting a pattern or practice.
And we, that is, I think the members of the commission didn't know that one because
Right.
we worked on the assumption that what was going to be in the report was going to pretty much deal with the underlying issues that, you know, that led to the lawsuit and led to pretty much the other things. So we were working from a point of really not knowing all of the present information and stuff, but still that's all the more reason why the sheriff should just go ahead and make public the report.
Or the county board, if they have it.
Or the county board, but the reason I keep coming back to the sheriff is the sheriff said to us, I mean, you went to the meeting, I'll make it public. I don't have any problem with that. So even though it isn't what the NAACP, you know, pretty much requested, it's a commitment that the sheriff made to the commission. And the commission's inaction was based on the fact that the sheriff's office was engaging in this action, and that they were going to make that action pretty much public. So I mean, we're kind of like at this position where we took you for your word, and you weren't really, you know, you didn't really follow through on that.
So do we know when Sheriff Arthur resigned? Like, did this come out when she was still the sheriff, or did it come out when her successor was the sheriff?
Well, she appeared before us in was July, was it June?
Oh, July of 22.
It was July 22. Okay, she appeared before us in July 22. She said it was going to be issued in September. So I don't know. Do you have any idea when she resigned? It was sometime.
I know she resigned January 2023, so I'm not sure when you saw
If it was March that you saw that
that it
reference.
was.
So what I saw was the county board minutes was from March 2023. In that it references, I think I might actually still have the tab up. it says in this, this is a county board agenda item for the March 18th, 2023 meeting. It says, in November 2022, the National Institute of Corrections conducted a review and submitted a technical report that provided suggestions for improvement. So November 2022 seems that that's when the report was issued.
So it came out during her tenure and she didn't provide it.
Right.
Okay.
So the request for the review of the pattern and practices from a commission standpoint, what would be standard in terms of what we would have, what information would we have to make that request to ultimately, be in agreement to make that, or is that just what the discussion is?
Well, I think that's also part of what the discussion is, whether everybody, so two separate issues. One is, and I think people were agreed on the report issue. One would be, taking a vote on requesting a report from the sheriff's office and the county board. Regardless of that report, then would be the question of issuing a letter requesting the DOJ pattern and practices report. And so as a part of this discussion, I open up for whether people think that we have sufficient information for making that request as of now.
Okay, I wasn't sure if there was some type of standard procedure for us to make that request, or is it more of just agreement among us? But it sounds like it's just more discussion. Okay,
I think it's more of the latter.
gotcha.
Any other thoughts on the issuing of the letter? I can move to, I can ask if anyone wants to move to take a vote about whether we issue that letter or not, but
And
there's
that's
any more discussion to be
online
had.
or no?
Yeah, I don't think I saw anyone, but let's take a look. I think it's just all members of the public. But, yeah. So no, nobody from the commission?
Nobody from the
Okay,
commission.
okay.
All right, well, I'll make a motion that we send a request to our liaison. And we'll prepare that request asking for a copy of it.
Anyone seconding that?
That's to have Matt provide us with the,
Okay, so, and remind me, is it usually a voice vote or raising hands?
It's kind of.
I,
Kind of vote. All right, well, okay, so all those,
nays or abstain.
okay, so all those in favor of making that request of the county board liaison to get a copy of the NIC report? Yay?
Aye.
Are we going to ask for a time to have that submitted, or are we going to leave that open for
But we can put a time, maybe 2 weeks.
Matt gets adjusted and learns more about the commission, or can we put a date and time that we would like the report so that we can move?
We can put a date and time. Any suggestions on what and people think is a fair time period for them to turn that around? I mean, if they have access to the report, that shouldn't take long at all.
More than 2 weeks.
Right.
A week is not.
A week, because it's already submitted and it was referenced in the,
They already have access to it.
they already have access to it.
Yeah. See, who is the board liaison?
It's now to Matt DeFerrante is the new board liaison.
Oh.
Yeah.
Matt,
Okay, so we have that down. Any motion for sending a letter for DOJ to conduct a pattern practice review of Sheriff's Department's detention facilities?
Of course, that would be my motion.
Any seconds?
I second.
All those in favor?
So did you want to have a discussion on it before?
Well, that's what I was trying to have. Yeah. That's what we've been discussing. Yeah.
And the reason why, and the only reason I'm bringing this up, Wanda, is because I think we pretty should have a little discussion on it. That is, if we send it, it will be from the commission.
Right.
So it would be the commission, and I guess it would be signed by the chair of the commission that goes to the Justice Department. Do the members of the commission feel that in any way there should be a heads up given to the board liaison and hence the county board? Because, and the reason why I bring that up is because I want, as we make this decision, to realize that our job is to do everything, and I think this pretty much comes under it, under our authority, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you do something that you do inform the board that this is pretty much what you want to do, because ultimately we answer to the county board.
I think we should wait for the surroundings to provide us this and move whatever we need to move and have more broad members commit to being here next time. I mean, there's a lot we're not here, we should be hearing from.
We have a quorum.
No, we have a quorum. I'm debating the quorum. I'm debating the members.
We don't, well, I think there are 3 members who aren't here, but.
I mean, the letter, I don't see anything wrong with the letter. I think it's just giving someone a heads up, pretty much before you do the letter.
Right.
We also don't know the scope of the letter yet, because we don't know the report. We don't know if it's going to be sort of what the OCP is going to send, which we're saying that yes, us too, something broader. There is no chair to sign the letter yet. Hopefully that'll be resolved at some point in the future. So there are these other practical issues related to it. We want to take a vote on whether we support what the NAACP has already done. That may be a different question than whether we want to actually take the step of formally going to send a letter of an unknown content at this point. If we needed something today, that's fine, but I'm not sure.
So do you think we can vote to send a letter and then have a letter, someone draft a letter and then actually vote on the letter at the next meeting, or vote on the letter? Or if we say, yes, we want to send a letter, we just leave it up to the person to draft the letter and pretty much send it. What do you think?
I would rather know what the letter's going to be about and have this couple letter defined and sort of talk to the county board about this. Then it'd be sort of backwards to vote to do it and then tell them we're doing it. Unless you're just being like, hey, FYI, we're doing it, just so you know. There's some chance that you think the county board may be upset about it, not that should really bother us, but.
But the only reason why I bring that up is this: when you go back and you read the initial letter this is the March letter that the NAACP said, which, by the way, all members of the commission, because I presented it pretty much to the commission, all members of the commission got it. The NAACP, and correct me if I'm wrong, the NAACP expressed their frustration in dealing with the county board and other entities regarding actually getting something done. And it was that frustration that was one of the reasons why they made pretty much that request to the Department of Justice. So I'm just thinking that, not that it was a roadblock, but because they had expressed their frustration to the county board, should we be dependent on the county board to respond? Because obviously they weren't really responding to the satisfaction of the NAACP. But at the same time, I think they should be placed on notice that, the commission is thinking of doing this.
So I think that they should be placed on notice, but if the letter could be informed both by the audit and by our discussion with the sheriff, I think it would be a stronger letter. I think that we will be told something if in 2 weeks the county board says, this is a confidential document, whatever, you're not entitled to see it. I mean, I think they're going to do one of two things. They're either going to give it to us or they're not. If they're not, they're going to say it's confidential, then we're not going to get it. And then I think then maybe we move forward.
Question, when they indicate that a document is confidential as the reason for not being able to or wanting to turn it over, don't they have to provide a reason?
I'm sure we'll get the county's lawyer providing that reason.
And since the report was conducted in November of 2023, 2022,
Yeah.
whatever the report says, recommended, there's been 2 additional deaths in the jail since the report. Regardless what the report says, whether it says fix this, do this, implement these policies, there have been 2 additional deaths
Well,
and a settled lawsuit.
forgetting the lawsuit, in theory, the deaths could have been unavoidable. I mean, we don't, that's one of the things that we ask about in these questions. So yes, there have been 2 deaths. Any death is terrible, but it may not have had, in theory, may not have had anything to do with what the sheriff's office was doing. The death could have occurred, somewhere else if they hadn't been in jail, but it's possible that they didn't, that the procedures, that they had changed the procedures and it still happened. So it's terrible that there've been 8 deaths or whatever there've been, and there've been 2 since this happened. To a degree, that could be somewhat irrelevant in terms of what's happening, I think.
Well, I know NAACP has submitted FOIA requests to find out what has been the cause and for, different reasons for the FOIA and not getting any information.
Should we have a member from the NAACP, or are you active for them to come and explain
They've
exactly?
already came and explained.
No, I know, but we're having the sheriff again, so why can't we have the NAACP come here and talk to us?
Wanda is the secretary of the
Well, Wanda-
Does she represent, I'm sorry, what I
One's the
didn't
secretary,
understand.
I'm a life member, so it's. You
That's more important.
got a good representation, but I don't think the end, not to put down NAACP, I don't think they're gonna be able to say any more than what we learned when we had the meeting with JD, who was here, and had their first vice president, and any more than what we have from the letter, which updates pretty much everything that has happened. And so it's,
Can I just clarify a point? Does the NAACP have a current letter requesting to the GOJ a review of the pattern and practices? Or are we trying to draft something separate?
The NAACP has a letter that they drafted in 2022, and the National General Counsel NAACP drafted a letter as well. And I have copies here, but I also provided that in an email to all of us before this meeting.
So is it my understanding that we are just wanting to get more information in terms of having access to the report, even though the NAACP hasn't had access to the report, but they have the requested letter, and just more information for the sheriff? That's what we are just basically saying, that we would like to have more information on in terms of our own position and letter?
I think there's a variety of different voices in the discussion. One is giving the county board a heads up,
Right.
which makes sense to me, yeah. Giving the county board a heads up. Another one would be having a letter drafted before we vote on whether to sign off on it or send it or not. The third one being, that Stefan brought up, was whether the letter would be stronger if we were able to obtain the report.
Right.
Whether the letter would be stronger if we were able to speak to the new sheriff about the update. I think those are the 4 things that have been raised, the 4 issues that have been raised in regards to the issues of sending the letter or not.
Okay, gotcha.
and why can't we make the request of the sheriff for the report? Why can't we ask for it? The commission can. We have the authority to request documents and information. Why didn't the commission just issue a letter to the sheriff and say to the sheriff, we would like to see a copy of the report, since you and your predecessor promised us that you would give us that particular report, and see where it goes from there.
I mean, would there be any reason against both requesting the report from, like we just voted on to get it from the county board? Any reason not to just also request that from the sheriff's office? With that, I'll entertain a motion to request the report directly from the sheriff's office as well.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Against?
Okay, so
This is to the sheriff.
he just got on.
That one's to the sheriff for the report. So the first one was just requesting it from the county board. This one is requesting it directly from the sheriff's office. But getting back to the letter itself, I think what Roland was saying about at least giving the county board a heads up before we send the letter is the thing that's one of the issues that makes the most sense to me. And you know, we could potentially take a vote today about drafting a letter up without actually sending the letter yet. So that's an option as well. I do think that, you know, potentially it would be stronger with that information from the sheriff and the report, but I don't think that that's necessarily like a necessity for sending the letter out. I think that there's sufficient there's sufficient information here to send a letter out, but that would make it stronger, but I don't think that that's a disqualifier. The issues for me on my part are the letting the county board know and having like a drafted letter so that people know what exactly they're voting to send.
And as part of that, I think we could notice a virtual, I don't think we could do this by email. And I think the letter, when it says is important, we could notice a virtual meeting to discuss the letter. Do it in, you know, a week or 2 weeks or
We
whatever.
could draft the letter and then have a in between now and February, have a give notice, have a meeting in between January and February. Could that be virtual? Would that count as one of the?
It would count.
It would count, okay. So either a meeting that is virtual or hybrid, where that letter is finalized between January and February. If we make it completely virtual, that would count towards our total virtual meetings for the year, so just keep that in mind. If we have it as hybrid, then it does not.
Would we be sending the county board the draft or the letter, or just a heads up that this is what our intentions are?
I was thinking just a heads up, this is where our intentions are, but Roland, since you raised.
No, I would give them just a heads up because they won't touch the letter. From my experience, they probably won't touch the letter. Simply based on the past of what has happened with all of the deaths at the jail as well. But at least they would know this is what we're going to. This is pretty much what we're going to do. And I think it's important that when we request that from the sheriff, you give them a definite date, and that you give them a date prior to when you want to meet to go over the letter, because I think one of the things that you may want to be able to say in the letter is that you requested the information, you had it by a certain date, and either they gave it to you or they didn't give it to you.
So similar to the county board request is a week. I mean, they have the report, like again, it wouldn't probably take much for them to, a week for the sheriff's office to give us that report. Does that sound reasonable?
We've always had a very good working relationship with the sheriff's office. I mean, every time we've made a request from the sheriff's office for anything, they've actually come through, and they, to speak or to give information and stuff, they've actually come through. So this is something that's a little surprising, very surprising.
And then ultimately, if the sheriff does come and we haven't received the letter by then, that's another point of discussion.
Yeah.
You also want to, you may want to look at options that the commission has, because the commission does have options when you look at the statute as to what we can do and what we can't do. For example, the statute gives you the authority to have public hearings. And although it hasn't been held for a long time, there has been in the past public hearings that pretty much have been held by the commission. So I don't know whether you were on the commission when they had the last public hearing.
Can't remember.
Okay, so it was somewhat back, but you can do things like that. You can have.
Yeah.
You can have.
I
Public,
suspect though that that's really only for it to have teeth, if the county attorney's office goes along with what we're trying to do in terms of compelling testimony or So
I,
I don't know where they would be on this.
yeah, I wouldn't expect for them to be supportive of it. Simply because they're counsel to the board, they're not really counsel to any of the commissions.
So what are everyone's thoughts on scheduling a special meeting between now and February to draft up that letter and send it out?
I don't think we need a meeting for that. It's just going to be, I think, a 3-sentence letter. But that was sort of my view of it anyway.
So what you think?
3-sentence letter. We got to put a letter to the sheriff's office, to Matt.
No, the letter to the DOJ requesting the patterns and practices review of the sheriff's detention facilities.
I would be reluctant to have a letter writing meeting. I think if we're gonna write a letter, then someone writes the letter, or a few folks write the letter, and then we can meet to discuss it once it's been reviewed.
Okay, so you just have a letter drafted and then the meeting would be to review the letter, is that what you're saying? Okay.
I would suggest.
Do we have to have a meeting just to review the letter? Couldn't we do it by email?
Because that would be a public, if we sent the email out with the letter and people were, responding.
Can't respond, you have to wait 3 hours at least.
It would count as like a public meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't catch the 3 hours.
I'm just giving you, there's a time period where if you answer immediately, it would then start counting as a meeting, a public meeting, and we cannot have that.
So you have to wait 3 hours.
Oh, 3 hours is my time of, that we won't get flagged for it. It's not, I'm not quoting anything, there is no rule. Just saying we can't immediately answer and start giving opinions on that particular
Yeah,
email.
I'm asking for my information because I'm
My
relatively
rule,
new.
my rule is 3 hours to reply to anything from the human record.
Is that the rule? I mean,
No, it's not by the rule, by the law, by the attorney. So you have to find that out then, I guess. Anna, any thoughts?
Okay, I guess my question is, having been on many other boards before, we have been able to, as an example, decide on a topic if the vote was unanimous. That's, according to the rules that we set for that. I didn't know what the rules for this body was in terms of approving something by email as opposed to having to wait to have a meeting about it. That was what my question was directed.
I don't think it's the approval. You could just have the approvals come back to the chair. It's the discussion. I'm not sure this is going to be something that it's just going to be drafted and approved. I think there's going to be discussion and changes to it.
Yeah, again, it's hard. I mean, yeah, probably, but you don't know. I mean, people may just say, looks great, let's do it.
Yeah, and also, if you do anything by email, and you do a decision by email, that email then becomes a part of the record.
Yeah, of course.
So what that means is if anyone puts in a FOIA, right? And actually, I work for the federal government. So
No, I know what FOIA
I keep
is.
coming back to FOIA.
I know what FOIA
Yeah,
is.
if someone comes back for
Yeah.
a FOIA request for it,
Yeah.
then the city attorney would have to accumulate the record. And if you use your personal email with it, it could be part of the record
Okay,
with that. So then,
just that conversation, they're not gonna go through all of my personal emails.
well, that was a question we asked when we had the
I think we
city
had that
attorney here.
conversation before.
We had the person who was a specialist pretty much on that to talk about it.
Yeah.
They tried to limit,
Mhm.
I think when they try to limit access to it, but you got to be very, very careful that you don't have personal stuff pretty much in there, because then it becomes a request to actually start looking into all of it. They do everything they possibly can not to go that far, but you just have to be knowledgeable of the fact that it could lead to something like that. Then you just take that into consideration when you decide what you're going to do. It all depends on how clear you make the request and whether or not all you're asking of the commission members is a yes or no on this and no other discussions or anything else. But that still becomes a part of the official record of that action. Anytime you involve anything, and I think, Anna, and it's 3 members or more,
Yeah.
it is considered it's an official action, and it may even be considered a meeting.
It's considered a meeting and therefore must be noticed in public. So you can't work on it through email.
Right.
So,
Okay,
so
so
be-
I just wanted to thank you for clarifying that. Wanted to understand the limitations of that. You know, thank you.
so the really safe one would be just to have a special meeting to just review it.
Okay,
So thoughts on either having 1 or 2 commissioners type up a draft for a special meeting versus having a special meeting to type up a special draft? Any preference there? I know Stephen suggested preference for having it written beforehand and then review it at the meeting, but anyone else have any thoughts on that?
Well, I'm just wondering how different is it going to be from the letter the NAACP has already drafted? If they've already provided that, at this point, we don't have the report. I don't know what else different we're adding to it. I haven't seen, so I don't know. I'm just
maybe we
asking.
can just use it as a boilerplate, and obviously the letter is coming from us as opposed to the NAACP.
Right.
And just use that and make little changes here and there to, fit grammatical or whatever, situation. I mean, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
And obviously, if we got the report, that would be something.
Yeah.
And just echoing what you said, and Wanda, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the reasoning being that they've received the letter from the NAACP, one entity, and just as another way to draw attention, it would be a letter from another entity, this entity being, the Human Rights Commission.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, assuming the NAACP wouldn't have a problem with our lifting their language, it wouldn't be considered plagiarism.
We
I'm
don't want
hoping.
to go to plagiarism right now.
I know.
And Angela, I don't think you were included in that original email, so forward now the letters.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to read them.
Any other thoughts on having a special meeting between now and February to review a draft of a letter to the DOJ for patterns and practices review?
I'd vote against it. But that's just my vote.
I mean, if there's no more discussion, we can move to take a vote on any other. I just don't want to move on too quickly if there's more to be said from anyone about their thoughts on having that special meeting. Okay, if that'll entertain a motion on having a special meeting to review a draft letter to the DOJ for a patterns and practices report request.
I make that motion.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all those in
Sorry,
favor?
who seconded?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You don't know.
All those against?
Aye.
Abstain.
I'm staying too.
I actually can't vote. I have to get my paperwork together.
Oh, you're not, okay.
Yeah.
All right. That is, I think that's 4-4. What happens when that just dies? Is that?
I don't know.
So you have to have a majority of the people present.
Right. So then, yeah, 4-4, that's just a no then, that's a dead no.
Just didn't pass.
Okay, just didn't pass. Okay, with
But
that,
I need to record the votes. So,
Okay.
sorry.
Even if someone cannot vote, that's a no?
Yeah, how can they be counted among the number if,
Count in the,
No,
but you have
that
to have
doesn't seem to
five.
make sense.
no, it doesn't.
oh, I see, so she doesn't, so we do have a quorum
If you're
without
not,
her.
you're not
She's not a member.
officially,
I am a member, but I can't vote yet. until I sign the documents, which they haven't sent to me yet.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, for,
Okay, because I see you listed on the,
What document?
So
Well,
you-
I
you
don't remember
shouldn't
signing
be
anything.
What document?
it's the
It's not
the
financial
disclosure.
The
Yeah.
conflict of interest.
She said in the email that I couldn't vote until then.
Conflict of interest stuff, that you have to sign
haven't
every
submitted my
year.
financial disclosure form.
Yeah, they send
I-
those to you every year, yeah.
Because you're a new member. Then the question is, did that go towards the quorum?
Yeah, I don't think,
She said I was, considered a member. I just couldn't vote.
yeah,
This
but
is
if
from
you
the
can't
chair.
vote, then you're
The
not
chair,
part
Garvey.
of, you shouldn't
The
be.
county board chair says this?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know.
That has never happened.
yeah. I mean, yeah, again, you're listed on the site as a.
Yeah, I'm just going from what she emailed me, so if you guys have something
Well,
different.
It
Feel free
seems
to-
to make sense that she shouldn't be counted, because, I mean, if she's not in a position to go either way. So let's say that we did decide and we, somebody else, I don't know. It just doesn't, I don't think that's a good way. I don't think we should count her. Sorry.
It's okay.
I mean,
Sorry to make it
no,
complicated.
nothing personal, but I mean,
So who are the fours?
So it's just one side of the room and the other side of the room, so yays are here,
To abstain.
two abstains.
15, okay, so 4, okay.
So it's 4-3.
Yeah, but I guess it would make sense to get clarity on your
Status.
actual status. Because if your status is that you can vote, then that's that's a not passed motion.
Well,
If you can vote, then it passes. Yeah.
if you could vote, would you have a preference one way or the other?
Yeah, I would vote yes.
Okay. Then we're still left with the same. Yeah.
But even if she's not quorum, it still passes 4-3. Right, isn't it just a set
Yeah.
quorum?
You're right.
Oh wait, you're right.
Yeah, we have a quorum. Quorum is 5 people. So once you have 5 people, you got a quorum.
But
Then-
we have
Right.
7,
So actually, it passes
4,
either way.
passes
You're
either way.
right. I was
But-
thinking the opposite.
But
yeah.
for a transaction to pass, it's the majority of those present at the meeting.
But she doesn't count.
It doesn't, I don't think it
She's not
matters.
present.
Just like
Yeah,
Bill
it
just
doesn't.
said.
It does. I guess it passes either way then. So because if she was able to vote, it would have been
Yes.
Yes,
it would have passed. But
regardless.
But if you're not able to vote, yeah, if you're not able to vote, it would be 4-3, and that would be okay. All right. So that that motion passes. Does anybody want to take up drafting that letter?
I'd be happy to.
And I can assist you with that. And then I guess we'd have to look to schedule a meeting between January or between now and the February meeting, which is the 8th.
could we do it by Zoom? Or would it have to be in person if we were to vote
So
on?
we could do it by virtual, but then that would count towards one of our virtual meetings.
Even if it was a special meeting that was outside of our regular meeting schedule?
And is that something that you could clarify?
I will clarify, I
Because
think it
that
would
means
count, but I'll.
If you have an infinite number of meetings, you can only have 3 by Zoom, and that doesn't make sense. But the other piece of it is, if it's a hybrid meeting, there needs to be a quorum in the room. So it's not just a,
Yeah. Good point, yeah.
I'd be very surprised if there's.
and the ones online can't vote.
Because other commissions are in the same problem pretty much with this. So I'd be very surprised if this.
If it didn't count.
Yeah, this is an exception.
Okay. And is that, for the scheduling of special meetings, is that usually, and you know, that's usually done like at here, or is that done later to decide the date?
Pick a day.
Yeah.
Either way, if you want to pick a date, then you can notice it. If you want to discuss and everybody can sort of number of options for people, to you.
We still run into the issue, if we gave a number of options. Yeah,
You
the
never
issue
get
of
one.
the email, becoming a public meeting.
As
Need
long as
3
you're not
days for the-
discussing it, I mean, if you just send out like a poll or something, every day,
Okay.
it's the discussion thing that creates a meeting.
Okay, just,
Well, can we just do it like 2 weeks from today?
what do people feel about that?
What day would that be?
That would be the 25th.
Yeah, January 25th,
25th.
Thursday.
Let me see if I may not be available on that date. But it would be a short meeting, right?
No change.
Yeah, that would, the only thing we would
So-
discuss is that, yeah.
Yeah, so that being the case, I'm not sure that it makes sense that it be mandatory that we come in and do this in person. I mean, it would seem to be like, it makes sense to do this as a Zoom meet, as an all Zoom meeting. But again, going back to your question, we don't know if, you said only a certain number of them can be hybrid and or Zoom, and a certain number have to be in person. Or is it that a certain number have to be in person? And then the remainder, however many there may be, can be by Zoom. I'm trying to understand how that works.
Well, that's the state law regulation about how the meetings can be held, and if you hold, they have to be a certain number, only a certain number can be totally virtual. I think it's 25%.
I thought it was 25%.
Okay,
And so if you,
okay, so it's by percentage, not number.
yeah, so it doesn't
Okay.
matter if it's special meeting or whatever the purpose of the meeting is, it still has to be a public meeting.
Yeah, this meeting, this special meeting has to be a public meeting, yeah.
Okay,
And it has to be on the website and everything else.
So you have to notice the meeting.
Yeah. All meetings.
will we have time? Will we be able to give enough notice?
Yeah. If you-
Okay,
if you
that's the
pick a
other
date
thing.
2 weeks in the future.
Okay, so, I mean, is there like is there a law about giving notice and how much time that we
It's
have?
3 days.
Is it, okay. Okay, so we'd be
We will
well
get it out
within that.
noticed.
But you can ask the county attorney if we have a special meeting, whether it still would count on the 25th.
I can ask. I'm pretty sure the response.
I
is
can
typically
tell you
hemmed in
from
by what the
past
state
experiences with other
voted.
commissions as well. It counts towards, in other words, it would count towards that. Because other commissions have tried to get around.
Of course, we could have another special meeting that was in person and just have a party. Just kidding, sort of.
So does January 25th work for those people?
You want to do the same time of day?
7 o'clock work? When you get clarity on the.
So what was going to be the deadline then for the request, for the report from the sheriff's office?
So I could, and correct me if I'm wrong, when my role is like in chairing this, I could send that request out tomorrow, right? So if I send that request out, or I send those requests out tomorrow, the deadline would then be the next Friday, so that would be the 19th.
Okay. So then you'd be looking at something like the 19th for that request.
Yeah, the deadline. Yeah, the deadline for the request would be January. If I'm looking to send out the request to both parties tomorrow, would be the 12th, Friday. So then the deadline would give us a week. We can give the deadline of January 19th.
Then I guess we would just leave it up to you to do the heads up,
Right. Yeah.
which you can pretty much do it anyway.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Anything further anybody wants to discuss on this issue?
By the way, these are very good questions.
They were, yeah.
Excellent questions. Very good.
Oh, with that, do we still then want to schedule, I mean, now that we put together those questions, do we still want to try to schedule the sheriff for, say, February?
Yeah.
Okay. And then again, we can send the invite for the February meeting. Okay. Unless anyone has anything further, we can move on to the approval of the December minutes.
I'll actually go around and do introductions. I'm not sure if Angela knows.
Oh, that's, yeah, okay, I guess, yeah, Angela, I guess you were there for, unofficially in the
Yeah.
last meeting, but yeah, we can go around and do introductions for Angela. Bill Rice, I've been on the board for, a little over 2 years now. As I said earlier, now interim chair. Before I was secretary taking the notes down. I've been in Arlington for maybe 12 years, maybe more.
So my name is Fatima Argan. I'll take my mask off because it's easier to understand me. I've been on the board for roughly about 1.5 years now. Lived in Arlington, gosh, probably longer than I care to admit. I want to say like mid-90s, on and off. I've also worked overseas, come back and whatnot, but highly involved as a community activist. That's it. Nice to meet you.
Wanda Younger, as I mentioned earlier, the second newest member to the Human Rights Commission. I started, or was appointed November 14th. I'm the secretary for NAACP Arlington branch. I'm serving my second term in the elected position. Former employee with the Arlington Sheriff's Department, and I've lived in Arlington for on and off over 30 years.
Wow.
So welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. Roland Watkins. I've been a member of the commission for several years. Prior to that, I was a member of the Equal Employment Opportunity Advisory Commission. And I've been a citizen of Arlington for about 25 years. So, again, welcome.
Hi, Stefan Klein. I've been a commissioner for almost 2 years and a citizen of Arlington for 29 years.
Nice.
I'm Stephen Krieger.
Sorry, my back's.
One term, so 4 years. And
Is that in Mizzou? Is that?
oh, Michigan.
Oh, Michigan.
National
Okay.
champ, Michigan.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Hi, Angela.
For what?
And I've been a member for my 4th year, and I've been living in Arlington for about 25 years.
And I'm Angela, and thank you so much for the warm welcome. So appreciate that. I'm really excited to be here. I recently moved, as I said on the call last time, from Kansas City. My family and I are here, so we've been here for about 2 years now, 2 young daughters. And I was on the Human Relations Commission in Independence, which is very similar to what the work you guys are doing here. So I'm really excited to be continuing the work. So thank you for the welcome and allowing me to be acquainted.
Great to have you. Yeah, so with that, I'll move on to the approval of the December minutes. I sent those around, and any edits or anything, let me know, but with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, the minutes for December have been approved. I'm still waiting to see the November minutes, and then we can vote on that the next meeting. With that, I see we can go into public comment. Is there any public comments? Public are here on Teams.
Mr. W disappeared when you said that. Whoever that was, I was just about to ask who they were too. Aaron.
All right, moving on from that, executive director's report.
I don't think we have anything right now. Gurjeet out.
Okay. And you just mentioned that there's an appeal coming up.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. And extensions?
No extension.
No extensions. Okay.
Sorry, there's an appeal coming up.
We have to schedule. Yeah, there's an appeal coming up that we're looking to schedule, but hasn't been scheduled yet.
So it might not be the February meeting.
It's not, no, it won't be, yeah, it won't be February. Moving on to members' reports, anything anybody wants to discuss? I know that at the last meeting, there were discussions, it was Stephen and, who else?
Carol and Roland. We were
Yeah,
reaching
putting
out to
together the-
people,
Yeah.
sort of some discussion internally about whether we should reach out to the constituents or just go directly to the decision makers. I don't think we've resolved that in our little subgroup yet,
Okay.
so we'll get back to that.
Yeah, so work's still ongoing, yeah, and again, that's in relation to the reaching out to what the school district in relation to the ordinance. Yeah, right, okay, just so everyone's aware. Any other member reports that anybody wants to?
I just have one question.
Okay.
And Samia she has resigned as the equity person there in the county manager's office. And so she's now heading another department. Have they given any, to your knowledge, have they given any consideration to a replacement for her?
I think I don't know. My understanding is there will be some replacement, but I don't know the status of that.
Okay.
I have that information.
But for members of the commission, Samia, what's Samia's last name? Is
Bird.
Samia Bird was the assistant county manager?
She was a deputy county?
Deputy county manager in charge pretty much of equity. And this was all part of the county board thing about promoting equity and everything. She was the person in the county manager's office. Handled it. She was in it for about 4 or 5 years. Somewhere up in there.
3 or 4 years, yeah.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years. And looking at equity all around the county government, well, she has since resigned for that position, and now she is director of one of the departments. So then the question is there going to be a replacement in the county manager's office for an
I can
equity,
ask,
diversity, and inclusion person?
I don't know.
Okay.
She's now running community planning, housing development.
Great.
So that probably is something we should find out, because that position is a very, very critical position.
Right, agreed. Any other members' reports or anything else, any other subjects anybody would like to discuss?
I just want to clarify, when I draft the report, I bring it on the 25th prior
Yeah.
to sharing it, right, okay.
And I'll just be, you and me talking wouldn't be public, yeah, so I'll just.
You can, I don't think there's any problem about sharing it on email.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you can,
It's
yeah.
a
share it.
discussion.
Yeah, you can, yeah, once you, once you, yeah, and you can, once it's done, you can share it with everyone, just everyone be mindful that when it
Just
is
put, do
shared.
not reply to this.
Don't everybody reply at once, because, yeah.
And if people have edits and things, they can send them back to you.
Right, if they can, people can individually, not reply all, individually send you edits, yeah, or comments. But don't
Just
be
don't
so
hit
ready to
reply
reply
all.
all.
No, no,
Yeah,
reply all,
exactly.
okay. You might want to put that in as a reminder. When people, they forgot. I often do that when I send stuff out. I want in a certain way, so whoever does it.
Yeah, the email, you can put like in
Might be
or something,
helpful,
reminder,
Okay.
yeah.
Sure.
Any other subjects anyone would like to discuss?
Do you know if the county board is still entertaining nominations for commissioners, or is thinking of, I think there's still 3 vacancies?
Is it 3 vacancies?
Everybody who's on the website is here tonight.
Well, Helen is still on board.
Helen,
not
Sean.
her position.
Helen's not on the website anymore.
And Carol,
Sean is-
No, Helen's still, she's just not chair, she's still on the board.
Yeah.
Helen's not on the website.
Yeah, so who?
Oh, that's a
I'm
mistake.
sorry,
Yeah,
Helen,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
my mistake. I removed it from the chair.
so it's Helen and
Didn't
Carol.
put her
That's
down the
it.
vote. I'll fix
So
that.
who-
Yeah.
Sean,
Sean left.
Oh, so Sean left, that's right, yeah.
Sean left.
yeah.
So-
Has anyone been selected as chair yet?
I'm interim chair.
Oh, you are, okay.
Yeah. So then what does that leave? 1 spot open? So I guess 1 spot open for
Wait,
nomination.
no, there's
Sean.
supposed to be 12 though. there can be 12, so there,
Oh, so
with Helen and Carol, I think that's 9. So I think that there are actually 3 slots.
Well, Helen's still on the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Helen and Carol and the 7, are there, 8. So there are 2 slots left.
Yeah, 2 slots, right, so 2 slots open, right, okay, yeah. So 2 slots open, yeah. Didn't realize Sean had resigned. Okay, anything else anybody would like to discuss?
Can we request that Matt meet with us in March?
Yeah, I mean, unless anybody has any issue with that, I can't see why not. We can try to request Matt meet with us or even February. Yeah, yeah. Well, we were looking for a chair.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, I can't see why not. We can request Matt meet in March.
If we can't, if the sheriff for some reason can't meet with us in February, can we have Matt to meet with us in February?
Yeah, that makes sense too, yeah. Request for the sheriff, if the sheriff can meet in February, then we can see if Matt can meet with us. And we can tell Matt too to be, looking at March, but if the sheriff is unable to meet February, be prepared to meet in February.
And if that deputy county manager position is filled, I didn't actually know that it existed, sorry. It would be good for us to meet with that person soon after they assume that position.
Did we, I don't remember, did we ever meet with her?
We did, we had Samia, she gave two presentations.
Yeah.
What, that kind of brought up another matter. Anna, do they still have an equity, inclusion, and an equity of diversion and inclusion officer? You remember they had hired one and personnel. They've gone through several.
Yeah, and I think that, I know they're working on hiring somebody, I'm not sure what.
So the one who was there left.
So somebody with, the person who was in that position left a while ago, and then they were recruiting.
Jesus.
Wait, what's the difference between that and the deputy county manager?
Well, the one that I just talked about is the one who is supposed to help with recruitment and personnel and all these other things. Samia's position as the equity is all over the county government. It's part of, hey, as we're doing things, are we being equitable? And I mean, and it's everything from contracts to housing to personnel to all those other stuff. She was over the federal, all over the city government, whereas the equity, inclusion, and diversity person is just that, supposed to be dealing with equity and diversion and the employee workforce. Interesting.
Oh, and I almost forgot, we have to decide on what meetings will be virtual and which ones will be person for 2024. So we have 3 that can be virtual and can't be back-to-back. Are there any preferences on what dates or what months? Remember, there's no meeting in August. What months people want the virtual meetings to be? I would assume maybe December again, virtual. Is that?
July seems to be a pretty good bet because I suspect a lot of people will be on vacation. And that would be a good time to do it.
So is anyone against December and July so far? Now we just need a third. Any preference on, so if we make it July, that means that we can't make it June. If we make it December, that means we can't make it November.
January?
Now.
I'm sorry?
They can't be consecutive.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you do December, then that means you're not going to do a James B. Hunter this year, because that's usually December. So if
Oh, I see, yeah.
Does that take the place of the Hunter Awards, the meeting? I mean, do the Hunter Awards take the place of what would ordinarily have been a meeting?
that Hunter was, yeah.
It typically does,
Would have been
okay.
in December.
Oh, okay, all right.
But if you're going to do a virtual, I mean, we did the James B. Hunter virtual in 2021, yeah.
Yeah, but it's been like 2 years already. I think we kind of need to get back on it, on that schedule and do it, because after 2 years, I mean, there's been a 2-year hiatus, and it's time to do it again. So I would say have the James Hunter Awards in December and then select another month for the virtual, maybe February. Like I'm thinking any month that either has crappy weather and or you might be traveling.
I think if we get
On
the,
vacation.
I think if we get the sheriff in person, it's probably better.
Right, yeah, so February would be when we have the sheriff, so.
Okay, so that's not
Yeah,
gonna work.
yeah.
Okay.
So maybe March, unless that's when the appeal is.
Yeah, potentially.
Do we actually have to designate it now? Which one is going to be virtual?
Do we have to make?
You don't have to do it now, but
Right.
if you,
Prolong
because
it.
they can't be consecutive, if you
Right.
kind of push it
What
out too
date
far.
in
then you start to
May?
run out of-
What date in May might it possibly be? Because if it runs up against Memorial Day, I suspect a lot of people.
It's May 9th is the meeting.
Okay, no, that would, maybe June, because that's sort of right after. No, but then that would be consecutive with July. Okay,
Or
never mind.
November?
November virtual makes sense to me unless, and again,
Okay.
we don't just like them all today. Like, it makes it easier for us in the future.
We're running
to
out
select
of
them all
months, I think
today.
November.
Right, exactly.
At this point.
But are there any objections to November as one of the virtual ones?
So you're looking at July as a virtual, or you're looking at November as a virtual?
And yeah, and July as well. July and November, are there any objections to those as virtual meetings?
I think that works.
So then that, the ones that then could possibly be the other virtuals would be September and,
April.
yeah, pretty much April, yeah.
I think that's what you did last year.
That seems
It was
very
April and
familiar, yeah. I
July.
think the only difference was that it was December as the, yeah. Any objections to April as the third virtual meeting? Is this something that we can, if we decide on that now, is there like wiggle room to change
Oh,
for any
yeah.
reason? Okay. So we can select these tentatively now. If there's any reason to change, we can switch up what's virtual.
Yeah, I've
what's
already
not.
booked your rooms the whole year. so.
Okay, all right, well,
Have
there
to
you go,
jump.
yeah.
So if we have to, if we can't have the special meeting as a virtual, like it counts, then does that mean that we get another virtual meeting? Like, because the denominator is one more?
If you add an additional meeting to
Oh,
your.
because we only have 11.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
12, it's still
Still be
3.
3. So does April, July, and November sound good to everyone for now?
Yep.
Okay, so I think those are the dates to look for virtual. For any reason we decide to change that up, we have that option, you know.
Motion for that?
Do we need to vote on that, or is that just, I'll do it anyway. Yeah. Entertaining a motion for having April, July, and November as our virtual meetings. Is that where you,
I'm just scratching my.
oh, you're just scratching the back. Anyone taking, motion for that?
I did have one other question. So you have the hybrid,
Right.
which means you can decide whether you want to come in person or take the call from home or wherever you are.
But with hybrid, you need to have a quorum in the.
You need to have a quorum in the room. Does that mean that the remainder of the meetings are either all in person or all virtual?
It's my understanding that all the non-virtual ones are hybrid. except
I see.
You just have to make sure that there's that quorum.
So
No,
another thing.
so all the virtual ones are hybrid. Not the-
The virtual ones are virtual.
Hybrid, I
Yeah.
want with people.
The virtual ones mean by law, you don't have to have anyone present in the room.
Mhm,
The law says you can have 3 of those meetings,
mhm.
and you don't have to worry about that.
Right.
It's like
So
having a quorum.
we could do April as tentatively hybrid pending the resolution of the special meeting, do the special meeting as a virtual meeting.
Yeah, does anyone have any objection to that?
Assume that April's going
that's
to
a
be
good
hybrid,
idea.
except
Yeah,
if Anna asks, it's a special meeting, wasn't part of it, does it count?
I think that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then I'll ask again. I'll entertain a motion for having April as tentatively virtual, depending on the answer we get for the special meeting between on January 25th. November is virtual and July is virtual. Any motion on that?
Could potentially change the, there's virtual or not. Better to not vote on it. That way you can just change it however you want to change it.
Okay, so yeah, that,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
not
okay.
necessarily-
All right, that works for me. Okay, so we have that settled down. All right, with that, any other issues anybody wants to discuss? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Any seconds?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.